For the past 4 years of high school, I've been only using two things to help me get a 4.0 GPA, a pen and a paper. And even though it was a very effective style of note taking, going into first year of university, I went ahead and got myself one of these. And then I started wondering, even though the iPad tries to simulate the feeling of writing on paper, which between the two, the iPad or paper, is the best method of note taking and memorization? Hey everyone, my name is Cheyenne and I'm a first year health sciences student at Queen's University, Canada. And today I'm going to be comparing the most effective tool for note taking, especially between the iPad and the old school pen and paper. Let's get to it. The first topic of discussion when it comes to the iPad and pen and paper is memorization of content, right? That's what it's about. When you're taking notes, you're trying to see, can I retain all the information that I'm taking notes on? At first glance, you might think that the iPad does an excellent job in simulating the idea of writing down on paper. But when it comes to memorization of content and retention, there is a clear winner between the iPad and, well, paper. You see, according to a Japanese study on graduates, they discovered that individuals who use pen and paper to take notes retain information at a much higher rate than those who use their iPad or their tablet or other devices. There are a lot of justification and reasoning that goes behind this, and I'm not able to go over all of it. At the end of it all, it comes down to how many senses, yes, feeling of touch, seeing, hearing, how many senses are activated when you're using any of these methods of note-taking. You see, experts say that when you take notes on paper, there are a lot of senses or brain activity that's happening. You're using the pencil to press down on the paper. You're seeing the paper. You're also spatially aware of your surroundings. And all of these help form a very good image in your head about your notes. You're able to retain this information because of how much evidence you're able to observe. Now, this isn't exactly the same thing with the iPad. You see, with the iPad, you're not exactly writing down, you're kind of sliding your pencil over, which confuses our senses. Additionally, the iPad is just one screen that has a bunch of pages in it, which means you're not really spatially aware. You can't situate each of these papers around here and see where they're at. So as confusing as it may be, pen and paper simply activates your brain much better than the iPad. And hence, you're able to retain information at a significantly higher rate. Alright, now let's get into an area where the iPad has an advantage. And that really comes into convenience and time management. You see, if you're tired of always carrying around all your notes with you, your backpack weighs like 100 pounds, well, that's been me all of high school. See, sometimes I used to have injuries from even lifting my back. You see, frankly, my shoulder didn't get injured because I'm benching 225. No, it's getting injured because my bag weighs 100 pounds. So if you don't want that inconvenience, then the iPad is a great choice. All your notes can be in one device. You never have to be afraid of losing it or forgetting it. Everything is with you. Also, depending on the note-taking app that you use, you can organize everything however way you wish. And as you know, organization is a great aspect of your learning journey. If you're organized, then everything is going to be much easier for you. Also, there's a feature on the iPad where you can split screen, meaning at the top, you can have your notes or your textbook, and at the bottom, you can start to take notes, which is a very efficient process as opposed to switching between tabs every time you need to take notes. Alright, the last point of comparison is really more focused on the iPad. And the question is, how good a job does the iPad do simulating an overall comfortable writing experience? Unfortunately, when I first got my iPad, I felt that the Apple Pencil was just too slippery on the screen. It seemed like I had to really situate my hand on the screen to be able to control the strokes of the pencil. But then I started to do some research on the topic and I figured out that most people tend to get a screen protector that's called paper-like, which means it makes your screen like paper, basically. With the addition of this tool on my iPad, it seemed very comfortable. The overall writing experience was much easier, it wasn't sliding on the screen, and honestly, the whole note-taking process became much more enjoyable rather than a slight nuisance. However, the paper-like screen protector does come with some disadvantages. For example, the tip of your Apple Pencil can get ruined pretty fast because you are kind of applying a lot of pressure to the Apple Pencil. So it does kind of have its advantages and drawbacks, but in terms of the overall writing experience, I don't think the original iPad screen is good enough. I think the addition of the screen protector makes it much more comfortable. Now remember at the beginning of this video I told you that when you're able to press down on paper and really see your writing and feel it, you're doing a lot of brain activity and hence you're able to better retain information. Well, remember with the iPad you really can't do this. You can't press down because, well, you're either going to ruin your Apple Pencil or frankly your screen. And that's kind of a drawback. So overall, I do believe the iPad offers a lot of the general writing experience. There are a lot of limitations that's placed on users, which I hope in the coming updates and generations gets fixed up. Now, as more of a conclusion, in reference to memorization, retention of information, I would say paper is a much better tool for note-taking. In terms of organization, convenience, and frankly, time management, I would say the iPad is much more convenient. Now, in terms of the general writing experience, it goes without saying that writing on paper is, well, normal, original, and the iPad does come close to it, but just not quite there. So in terms of memorization and retention, I wish I could still keep using my pen and paper to take notes. But frankly, the amount of paper that I use and the amount of organization I have to do with paper, well, that's just not convenient. So I'm gonna stick with the iPad. Let me know what your thoughts are on the whole style of note-taking with iPad or old school pen and paper. If you enjoyed this video, then consider dropping a like. I'm gonna be coming up with videos every week, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I'll see you on the next one.